It is now 3:56, so we have just a couple more minutes until we're going to get started. Remember, if you are going to make oobleck with us today during the lesson, you can see the optional supplies here on our screen. Make sure that you have those, and especially make sure you have some type of tray or tablecloth to put your oobleck on, because it may get a little messy. So gather those supplies, and if you have not already, text at 4H Nail, you can see it on the screen right here, to 81010 to let us know that you're here. So if this is your first Nailed It session, we want you to let us know that you're with us by texting at 4H Nail to 81010. And we will get started in just a minute. All right, everybody, I have 4 o'clock on my time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to 4H Nailed It, which stands for New Adventures in Learning Distantly. So we are going to use Zoom today to learn a little bit differently. We're excited for today's lesson called oobleck, solid or liquid. So make sure you hang out with us the whole time, and we'll find out the answer later. So a few friendly reminders: make sure that your microphone is muted unless you're planning to share or answer a question. You can also turn your video on or off. If you're comfortable having it on, you can do that. And if you have not attended a session before and let us know that you're here, you can do that by texting at 4H Nail to 81010. And then make sure you have your optional supplies if you would like to make oobleck with us today. And if you don't want to, then that's fine. You can just watch me make it, and maybe you can make it another day. And also, don't forget that you need to have your parent or guardian's permission to be on our online class today. So if everybody's ready, we are going to get started. So if you don't already know me, my name is Megan Powell. I'm the Lanier County 4-H agent, and I'm excited to teach you a little bit of science today. So just another reminder, if you have never been to a Nailed It lesson and you want to let us know you're here, you can do that by texting at 4H Nail to 81010. And the first thing we're going to do before we get started is see a little bit about what you know. So I am going to launch a poll on your screen. You should see that now. There are a few questions on this poll, and you can go ahead and answer those questions for me. They're multiple choice. And as soon as you vote your answers, I can see those come in. So just make sure you answer each question one time and then submit your poll. All right, so I see some responses coming in. So just read through those questions and submit your answer. All right, so we've still got answers coming in on our poll, so we're going to leave it open for a little bit longer. Make sure you click submit when you get to the last question. All right, we've got a few people that have not answered. We're going to wait about 15 more seconds and then we will close the poll. All right, we're going to close the poll now and get started. So, oobleck, is it a solid or liquid? Like I said, if you hang out with us the whole time, we'll get the answer at the end. So, since we are using Zoom and this is Nailed It, so like I said, New Adventures in Learning Distantly, we are going to use some of Zoom's technology. There is a feature called Raise Your Hand on here. So if you know how to raise your hand already on Zoom, you can do that. If not, I'm going to tell you. So if you are on a computer or a laptop, you will click on the icon at the bottom of your screen. It's called Participant. Okay. Once that pulls up on the right side of your screen at the very bottom, you should see a button that's called Raise Your Hand. So when you find that, if you want to test it out, you can do that. If you are on a cell phone, you will see 3 dots in the bottom right hand corner called More. If you click on that, you can click Raise Your Hand. Or if you're on a phone, you can also click Participants and then click your name and click Raise Your Hand. So I see several people raising your hand. So we are going to do a few test questions just to make sure everybody knows how to raise your hand. So if you're excited for today's lesson, which I hope everyone is, you can raise your hand. Awesome. We see lots of hands raised. All right. And next question, if you're a 4-H member, so you can be in any county. If you're a 4-H member, raise your hand. Awesome. I see some hands raised. All right. And then my last question today is, sorry, I got muted. So my last question is, if you have the supplies today to make oobleck during our session, I want you to raise your hand. All right, awesome. We see several hands raised. So during our lesson a little bit later, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you think that a change is a physical change or a chemical change. So you'll get to use that feature a little bit later. That's just one way that I want to try to make this a little bit more interactive. Another way is our chat box. So some of you already chatted me back a little earlier. So to pull up your chat box, there is a button called chat. It should be on that same toolbar where you saw participants. So just to make sure everybody knows how to type into the chat box and send that to everybody, I want everybody to type in their favorite ice cream flavor. And I'll type mine too. Me and Miss Deborah like chocolate. And Kelly and Sadie. All right, so thank you guys for participating in that little chat. So throughout our lesson today. If you want to chat or raise your hand to help answer some questions, that would be awesome. Okay, so we're going to dive in. So our first question is, what is matter? And that is anything that has mass or takes up space. So today, the things we're going to be talking about are the states of matter. So does anyone know the states of matter? You can type them in the chat box if you know them. Any states of matter? There are 3 states. Oh, awesome. Max is the first person that typed them in I see, and he said solid, liquid, and gas. So awesome job. I see some other folks getting it right too. So they are solid, liquid, and gas, and that's what we're going to talk about first are the 3 states. So first is a solid. You can see here our example picture is Legos. So lots of people love to play with Legos. A solid is a type of matter that has a definite shape and a definite volume. So when it's placed into a different container, it keeps the same shape. So what are some examples that you guys know of that are solids? You can type those into the chat box. Yes, Ella Moore says ice. Awesome job. That is a solid. Any other examples? Rocks, books. Yes, good job. Concrete. Awesome. An apple, baseball, brick. Awesome job. These are all great examples of solids. So our next state of matter is a liquid. Our example here is paint. And this is the state of matter that takes up a definite amount of space but does not have a definite shape. So what are some examples of liquids that you guys know? Yes, water, juice. Everybody loves water. That's a good thing. A yoo-hoo, oh yes. Coffee, definitely. Oil, milk. Good job. So those are all examples of liquids. And our last state of matter is a gas. So this is matter that does not have a definite shape or volume, and it expands to fill its container. So I already see people typing in the chat box. We have air, helium. That's awesome. So those are some examples of gas. So each state of matter has some different particles. So these are the 3 states that are not labeled. So judging by the particles, we're going to start with number 2. What state of matter is this number 2? Does anybody know in the chat box? Yes, gas. I see people already typing it in. Perfect. So remember that gas does not have a definite shape or volume. So its particles are just kind of everywhere, just like that balloon that was on the picture on the slide of the gas slide. The particles inside the balloon are just going everywhere. Awesome job. All right, what about number 1? Yes, it's a liquid. So just like when I think of a liquid, it moves some, and you can see these particles, they're kind of look like they're moving, okay? And remember that a liquid, it takes up a definite amount of space, but not a definite shape. So it moves a lot. All right, and then the last one is easy process of elimination. Awesome job, everybody. I see you typing in solid. So solids particles, they stay together. It's more rigid, okay? Awesome job. So there are 2 ways that matter changes, and that is by a physical change or a chemical change, and those are 2 different things. So a physical change is a change in which the kind of matter stays the same. So just like this can here, it is crushed, but it's still a can. So we did not change the kind of matter that it is, okay? So some characteristics of physical are cutting, tearing, folding, painting, and then changes in state. So earlier, someone said that a solid was ice. So if you freeze water, that's a physical change, and that makes it a solid. But if you melt water and make it a liquid, that's a physical change, okay? So those are all characteristics of physical changes. So keep those in mind, and we will talk about them in just a second. So one physical change that we just said was cutting. So if you cut this pizza and you get a slice of pizza, is it still a slice of pizza? Yes, so we did not change the type of matter it is, we only changed the size. And then one more example of a physical change is painting a door. So we made this beautiful red color and it's still a door. We just changed the color of it. Okay, so that's a physical change. The other kind of change is a chemical change. These are a little bit more fun to me, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So a chemical change is a change where a new kind of matter is formed, okay? So our example here is rust on nails. So when you get nails or buy nails, they do not look rusty. And as they rust, that rust is a new type of matter, okay? So a few characteristics of chemical changes are cooking, burning, growing, rusting, just like those nails, ripening, like this apple here, and fizzing. So, excuse me, a chemical change is when a new matter is formed, and this cannot be undone. So here, if you burn wood and it creates this ash, then you cannot transform that back into wood, and that's why that's a chemical change. So a whole new type of matter was formed. All right, and then our last example of chemical changes is this is cookie dough. If you bake it into cookies, then you cannot change that cookie back into cookie dough, okay? So it is a new type of matter. It's a cookie and not cookie dough. All right, so now it's the fun part. We're going to do some experiments. And so I'm going to turn off my camera for just a second and move it because I have some stuff set up back here for us. And this is whenever I'm going to do some experiments and then ask you guys to raise your hand or type in the chat box whether or not you think it's a physical or chemical change. All right, so 1 second. All right, so we have some different things over here. Now, none of these things were on your supply list because there's lots of different stuff that we're going to do. But I have a slide later in the PowerPoint that will show you what these things are if you'd like to do it at home, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is work with these little tablets. Oops. So you can see here they kind of smell minty. You guys can't smell them, but they're green and white tablets. So the first thing I'm going to do, what state of matter is this? Can someone type that in the chat box for me? Yes, a solid. Good job, guys. So this is a solid. If I break it like this, if I break it, what type of change is that on this tablet? Yes, someone says physical. Good job. And that's exactly right. It's a physical change because it's still the same tablet. We just changed the shape of it, okay? So now, if I add some water into it, what do you guys see happening to the tablet? Yes, it's dissolving. And so it'll take it a little bit to dissolve all the way. You can still see some in here. But if I let this dissolve all the way, what type of change would that be? Yes, chemical. Good job. So once this is all the way dissolved, we will not be able to separate the tablet from the water anymore, and it is a new form of matter, and that is a chemical change. Good job. So remember, it dissolving in the water is the chemical change. Just breaking it is the physical change. All right, so next, I have this strip of paper. So it's a rectangle right now. If I rip it like this, what type of change is this to this paper? Yes, I see everybody typing in. It's a physical change because these pieces are still paper, right? Yes, so they're still paper. We just changed the shape. Now, if I burned this paper, which I'm not going to do because that's not safe right now, but if I burned this paper, then what type of change would that be? Awesome. You guys are getting it. That's a chemical change. Exactly right. All right. So up next, make sure I get my correct cup. I have some Kool-Aid powder here. And I'm going to pour it into our cup of water. I'm just going to stir that up. So when all that gets dissolved, it is a chemical change because we will not be able to separate that back out. Okay, so we've got our Kool-Aid mixed up. This wouldn't be very good to drink though because it doesn't have any sugar in it. So I'm going to take some of this and put it in there. I want you guys to watch what happens to our substance when we add this into it. So what do you guys see happening to our substance? Yes, it did rise. Did you guys see anything else? Yes, it's fizzing. Good job. So fizzing, if you guys remember from our slide earlier, fizzing is a characteristic of what type of change? It is a characteristic of a chemical change. Awesome job. Let me get a paper towel. So if you guys do any of these experiments later on at home, make sure that you put a tray or something under it to catch all of the stuff. As you guys saw, it came right out, or you could set your cup in the sink. All right, so our next substance here. Watch what happens to this one. All right, so just like our Kool-Aid, this one also bubbled and fizzed. And so this one is also a chemical change, okay? So, and then we have one more here. Oh, so that one didn't go quite as high, but it also fizzed and bubbled, and that is a chemical change. So if you guys would like to do these experiments at home, I'll show you the supplies and ingredients on close to the end, but these are always really neat. I wish you guys could smell it all, but this Kool-Aid and stuff, it smells really good. So I am going to swap trays, and now it is time for some oobleck. All right, so first off, if you do not have a tray or something else to put your oobleck on, make sure that you are not going to get it all over your kitchen table or your coffee table or any furniture. So be very careful, it can get a little messy. So the first thing we are going to do, you will need cornstarch and water. You need a bowl or something to put it in, and then we need a measuring cup. You will use 1 cup of cornstarch and ½ a cup of water. So I have a ½ cup measuring cup. So for the cornstarch, I will do 2 of these. So if you guys are making oobleck, you can turn your cameras on if you'd like us to see you, but you can go ahead and start measuring out your ingredients. So I'm going to measure my cornstarch right over the bowl. Try not to make a mess. I made this earlier and it got everywhere. So remember, for 1 cup of cornstarch, we are going to use, we're going to use 2 1/2 cups. And you don't have to fill it all the way or make it perfect, but we have our ½ cup. I'm scrape it out in there a little bit. And then we're going to get another one. And you can scoop out of the container at your home if your parents will let you. I try to do it like this. I think it's a little bit less messier, but could be wrong because I'm making a big mess. So we're going to keep scooping this in here. maybe one more scoop. All right. I'll pour that in there. Close this up so I don't spill it. Now, since I don't like to do extra dishes or extra cleaning, I am going to use the same measuring cup for my water. And you want to measure your water and your cornstarch, because if you get the measurements or the proportions off, it won't be able to form like we want it to. So I'm going to pour a half a cup of water into the measuring cup, and you do not want to add it all at once. So just add about half of it into your bowl, and you can start mixing it up, okay? And you'll be able to feel it start clumping where the water is. And then if there's still dry cornstarch in there, still powder, pour a little bit more. You don't have to use all of it. And then mix it all up. Try to get all of the powder incorporated. And I'll go ahead and add the rest of mine. And once it is mixed up, so what I'll do, so our question for this lesson is,
it didn't work.
Is it a solid or a liquid? So you can pick up a handful of it. You have to do it kind of fast. But if you roll it into a ball like this, everybody can see the ball that I have in my hands. And then when you release it, it just flows off, okay? So oobleck is a little bit of both, a solid and a liquid. It's called a non-Newtonian fluid, and it depends on the amount of pressure that you're applying on it. So if you poke at it like that, if you were just doing that regular liquid or water, your fingers would go right in it. But this, since you're applying pressure, it's hard. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but whenever I poke it, that's me poking it, that sound. So if you grab up all of it that you can and go really, really fast, make your ball. So as long as you're applying pressure to it, it will stay in a more solid form. But as soon as you let go, it becomes liquid. So if you're having trouble with your oobleck, you may not have got your measurements right. So remember, we do 1 cup of cornstarch to a half a cup of water. And everybody measures a little bit differently. So if it's too watery and you cannot get it to form your solid ball when you roll it, you may need to add just a little bit more cornstarch. Or if it's too powdery and chalky and it won't let you feel that liquid feeling, you may need to add a little bit more water. All right, so in order for us to finish up our lesson, we have just a little bit more. I want you guys to leave your oobleck. I want you to play with it after our lesson. But first, if you take these big chunks off your fingers so they don't go in your sink, take those all off your hand as much as you can. And then I'd like everybody to go wash your hands. Remember, you can leave this and play with it after. We only have a couple more things to do in our lesson. And go wash your hands and come right back. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll be right back.
Hey guys, if you did not have to leave to wash your hands, you can go ahead and get started with today's post poll. You should be able to see it. And if you can't see it, If you guys will raise your hand or send me a message.
Okay, raise your hand.
Is that a hand raised because you guys see it or you don't see it?
Thank you, Miss Jasmine. So I have got my hands very clean, super easy to get off with just soap and water. And so now whenever you get back, or if you did not have to go wash your hands, you can work on the poll. It's just a few questions to see if we learned anything today during the lesson. And I see in the chat, can you color it? Yes, you can color your oobleck. I've read different ways where you dye your water and then add it in, or you add the color once it's already mixed. And I have never done it, added color, but I think that one way dyes your hands more than the other way. So I'm not sure about that, but I have seen lots of different colored ones. So we have votes coming in on our poll. So once you have answered all the questions, go ahead and submit your poll. We really appreciate you doing that. And then after everybody gets their poll in, I'll show you guys all the ingredients for those little experiments we did a while ago, in case you want to do them at home.
Thank you. I am your father.
All right, guys, as you're getting back from washing your hands, we still have the poll open if you'd complete that. So about half of everyone has completed the poll. So once you answer those questions, just make sure you hit submit at the bottom. And for those of you that have already submitted your poll, if you have not been to any of our other 4-H Nailed It sessions, we have had 2 already, so this is our 3rd one, and you can find those on the Georgia 4-H Southwest District page. I just put that name in the chat box. Our first one was about making your own peanut butter with Miss Jasmine. It was really fun. And then our second one was with Miss Sonia, and she made bottle rockets, and it went really high, really fast. So if you're interested in learning to make your own peanut butter or a bottle rocket, then check out those. Yes, Max said it was cool. So those lessons are recorded and they're on that Facebook page that I added in the chat box. All right, we're going to give about 30 more seconds on the poll. So if you have not added or finalized your answer and hit submit at the bottom, go ahead and do that for us, please. Alrighty, so we have ended our poll, and now these are the ingredients that I used a while ago in our experiments. So the different liquids were lemon juice, vinegar, water, and then the Kool-Aid into the water. And then the ingredient that I added into all of those was that baking soda. So if you would like to recreate those at home, they're a lot of fun, and like I said, it all smelled good together. And then the dish tablets is what that first tablet was. So if you want to do any of those at home, feel free to, as long as you have permission from your parents and you're doing it safely. And we hope you guys will join us for our future Nailed It sessions. We have one again on Wednesday with Miss Margaret. And it's Earth Day on Wednesday, and so we'll be learning some more about that. So I hope you guys had fun, and if you made a blank today, go back and play with it now. If you didn't get to make it now, I hope you'll get to make it another time. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. Thank you guys for logging on, and we will see you Wednesday, hopefully. So you guys can hop off, and we'll see you Wednesday. Bye, guys.